Dad, can you tell me about American history? Like from the very beginning?
Absolutely, Mia. Let's start with a name you might have heard before, Christopher Columbus. In 1492, Columbus set sail across the Atlantic Ocean, sponsored by Spain, hoping to find a new route to Asia. But instead of reaching Asia, he ended up in the Caribbean, on islands that are now part of the Bahamas.
So Columbus thought he was in Asia?
That's right. He called the people he met Indians, thinking he had reached the Indies. But he had actually found a whole new continent, at least new to Europeans. His voyages opened the door for more European exploration and eventually led to the colonization of the Americas. However, it's important to remember that Native Americans had already been living on these lands for thousands of years.
So what happened after Columbus came?
After Columbus, more and more Europeans started coming to America, looking for land, wealth, and new opportunities. This led to the establishment of colonies. One of the most famous groups to come over were the Pilgrims, who sailed on the Mayflower in 1620. They were seeking religious freedom and landed in what is now Massachusetts, where they started a settlement called Plymouth.
Did they get along with the people who were already living there?
Initially, they did. The Pilgrims were struggling in the new land, and a Native American named Squanto helped them learn how to grow crops and survive. This cooperation led to the first Thanksgiving. But as more settlers arrived, conflicts started to arise. The European settlers wanted more land, and this led to wars and the displacement of many Native American tribes.
That sounds really hard for everyone.
It was a tough and often tragic time. Now, as these colonies grew, they started to feel frustrated with British rule. By the mid-1700s, the 13 colonies on the East Coast were tired of high taxes and lack of representation in British Parliament. This anger led to the American Revolution.
What did they do?
In 1776, the colonies declared their independence from Britain with the Declaration of Independence, a powerful document written by Thomas Jefferson. This started the Revolutionary War, a long and difficult struggle that lasted until 1783. With the help of allies like France, the colonies eventually won the war, and the United States of America was born.
So the U.S. was finally free?
Yes, but the young nation faced many challenges. The country began to expand westward, which led to new conflicts, especially with Native American tribes and other nations. For example, in the 1840s, the United States fought a war with Mexico, known as the Mexican-American War. After winning, the U.S. gained a large amount of land, including California and Texas.
That must have caused a lot of changes.
It did, and not all of them were positive. The country continued to grow, but one of the biggest challenges came in the 1860s with the Civil War. This war was primarily about the issue of slavery. The southern states wanted to keep slavery because their economy depended on it, while the northern states wanted to abolish it. When Abraham Lincoln became president, some southern states decided to leave the Union, leading to a brutal war from 1861 to 1865.
What happened after the war?
The North won, and slavery was abolished, which was a huge step forward. But the country was deeply divided, and the period known as Reconstruction tried to rebuild the South and integrate formerly enslaved people into society. However, it was a difficult time with a lot of resistance, especially in the South.
That sounds like a really tough time for the country.
It was. But America continued to grow and change. Moving into the 20th century, the U.S. faced 2 world wars. In World War I, America joined late but helped the Allies win. World War II was even more significant. After Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941, the U.S. joined the war. The conflict ended in 1945 after the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, leading to Japan's surrender.
That must have been a huge event.
It was a world-changing event. After World War II, America emerged as a global superpower and entered a period of rapid economic growth. But it also led to the Cold War, a long period of tension with the Soviet Union. There wasn't direct fighting, but it was a time of rivalry and competition, especially in space exploration. In 1969, the U.S. sent astronauts to the Moon, which was a monumental achievement.
Wow, walking on the moon must have been amazing.
It was. But not all events were positive. For instance, in 2001, there was a tragic event known as 9/11s, where terrorists hijacked planes and crashed them into the World Trade Center in New York and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. It was a very sad day and changed the world in many ways.
That sounds really scary, Dad.
It was, Mia. But it also brought people together in ways we hadn't seen before. Since then, the U.S. has continued to face challenges, but also moments of progress, like electing the first African-American president, Barack Obama, in 2008. There's always more history being made, and there's so much to learn from it.
I feel like I've learned a lot already. There's so much history in this country.
There really is. And we've just covered the basics. Every event has so many layers and stories behind it. I'm sure you'll learn more as you go through school, and I'll always be here to help explain things if you're curious.
Thanks, Dad. I'm excited to learn even more.
Hey there, I'm George, and this is my amazing daughter Mia. On our channel, we chat about all sorts of things, stories, life lessons, and even some cool facts you might not know. It's our little corner of the internet to share, learn, and laugh together. So, if that sounds like fun, hit subscribe and join us.